Hi, everyone. It's September 21st, 2023, and this is the weekly Backdrop developer meeting. We just had the release of Backdrop 126 just last Friday. And so we've got some news to share about the release, and if there's any follow-ups, we can kind of talk about those too today. We'll do some introductions. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm the technical lead for the Backdrop project. Let's go around the room here. If we could start with Robert, and then we'll go to Tim.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, and based in Altadena, California. And lately, I've been starting to try to clear old PRs that are stuck in limbo.
Much appreciated. And we're going to talk through a couple of those today. Let's see, we'll go to Tim and then Jen.
Hi, Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim in the forums and internet. I am in Deerwood, Minnesota, and just went to Twin Cities Drupal Camp last week, talking about Backdrop there, and I'm excited about Backdrop Live. It's tomorrow. That's it.
Go ahead, Jen.
I'm Jen Lampton, joining from Oakland, California. Also excited about Backdrop Live.
All right. Well, as was just mentioned, yeah, the other big news is that Backdrop Live starts tomorrow. It's a Friday, Saturday event, and it's kind of like a 3 hours on, 3 hours off. I think that's the cadence of things. Online virtual events. It is free to attend. Donations are encouraged, though. You can find more information at events.backdropcms.org. All right. So sorry, Jen, I was just about skipped over the community stuff. Are you ready? Are there any contrib modules? No.
Skip over. I'll look at it and interrupt later.
Okay. All right. So the 126 release came out on Friday. That was another successful release. We had a nice leisurely kind of rollout there of that new version. Headlining features. Oh, also thank you, Luke McCormick, for posting the blog post. We got that up on backdropcms.org. Kind of the headlining features here are mostly third-party libraries and compatibility with things like PHP 8.2. We got updated to the latest version of jQuery. A new version of jQuery actually came out like the week before the release. So that was nice that we introduced basically like a more comprehensive solution to jQuery versions that we'd actually kind of already advertised that we had jQuery update in core because we were just running the latest version of jQuery 1. But it's been years now that jQuery 1 has actually been unsupported, and jQuery 3 has been out for quite a while. And thanks to a lot of legwork by our community members, we got in a user interface for toggling between jQuery 1 and 3. So it very much is like jQuery update in core now. New sites will use jQuery 3 by default, and existing sites stick with jQuery 1. We would encourage people to switch over to jQuery 3 and check to see if their sites are compatible with the latest versions. For the most part, like we only found like 1 or 2 places in core that actually didn't work with jQuery 3. So it was much more compatible, I think, than we had expected. However, there were dozens of places in core where we were using deprecated functionality in jQuery that has been switched over to the modern equivalents in jQuery 3. So we also fixed all of those issues in core, just stopped using the deprecated stuff. And we did some updates like updating jQuery UI to the latest version, and then updating some of the other libraries like jQuery once, for example, to be jQuery 3 compatible. So lots of work on underlying dependencies. PHP 8.2 support technically also got into the 125 release. 125.2 was simultaneously released simultaneously released with 126, as we always do, kind of just get out the last set of bug fixes onto the previous release in one final release for that version. And then we also release the latest minor version, which is 126.0 this time around. So yeah, great to get in all those changes. A couple of new features. Themes now have config directories. Link fields now can be internal or external. We added a new utility function. User role has permissions or has permission. And that's kind of it. It was pretty small release as far as like features are concerned, but a pretty big preparation and just housekeeping release for doing a bunch of kind of unpleasant things that are just the nature of software. All right. Let's see. Issues. Yeah, so that's all I've really got to say about 126. We'll continue rolling on as we always do, getting ready for, adding new stuff going forward. 127, we've kind of already slated as saying or hoping that that will be the version that we get in the new version of CKEditor, CKEditor 5. And 126 does some work to kind of prepare for that, including it lists the version of CKEditor in your status report now. It displays a message kind of saying, hey, CKEditor is going to be switched over in the near future. It links out to the contrib module that we have, and it starts reporting CKEditor information through telemetry. And now that I think about it, sites are now reporting that information to telemetry, but we haven't actually started displaying that information on backdropcms.org yet. So we can actually go in and configure backdropcms.org to start reporting the information about versions of CKEditor that people are running. Of course, right now, 100% of sites are probably going to be running CKEditor 4 because the CKEditor 5 module isn't stable. And I don't think that we've even started reporting in telemetry yet from CKEditor 5. So not necessary that we do that right away, but like I said, it kind of sets us up for the future where we can start looking at how people are using their sites and start making decisions about CKEditor 4 versus 5 as we go forward. Okay, let's talk about issues that that we worked on, or just things that are priorities that we've been taking a look at. This is going to be kind of fun because this is the Robert show here, where there's a lot of issues that Robert's been working on that we're trying to get cleared out, and he left some suggestions for this week for things that we can discuss. The first one I want to bring up is not one that you put on the list, Robert, but one that we're kind of in progress on, the contextual links one. The way that contextual links can sometimes overlap each other. If you've got something like a view and a node inside the view, the contextual links can land on top of each other. We have a really primitive fix for that right now, but sometimes it doesn't work quite right, and sometimes it offsets a link that doesn't need to be offset. And so this issue 5273 calculates if links are overlapping using JavaScript, and then like offsets them if they're actually overlapping. Sorry about the dog. This pull request looks great, Robert. I'm not sure there's anything left to be done here other than some more testing. Do you think there's anything remaining here, or do you have anything?
No, I think it's ready to go. The last thing we added is you commented we should use debounce rather than on resize, and that's now in. So yeah, just testing code review. But I think it's ready to go. There is in one of the comments, yeah, just a few comments up from the bottom, a clump of HTML that one can paste into a node body and see lots of different pathological cases that the old thing didn't work on. So, or the new one potentially wouldn't work on, but I think it does. So, testers could try those and then also think of other pathological situations, quadruply nested contextual links overlapping, things like that.
Yeah,
I'll
I don't.
I'll mention one of the things that broke the previous algorithm was if you had a very short inner block, like the breadcrumb block, that's only one column high, then the old correction that just pushed the link down if it overlapped would push it out of the contextual links region and make it visible. So now the new checks the height and starts a new column to the left or right, depending on your language direction in that situation.
Yeah, that's great. This is a bit of a non sequitur, but something that I'm not sure if we even have an issue tracking it, but something that Drupal's done for a while is contextual links are not very touch device friendly since there's no hover functionality. And in Drupal land, they added a admin bar link that toggles the visibility of all contextual links on the page all at once. So you can click it, all the contextual links show up without hovering over them. And then you can see them on a mobile device or on a touch device, I should say. Just as a thought, if we're looking at contextual links, it definitely is a different issue than this one, but that would be awesome if we could kind of resolve that long-standing usability issue with contextual links, that they're really mouse focused, and that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. You in the forum posts posted 2 other issues. We've got this first one: replace module load include with a new, more generic function. It's issue number 206. Wow, this is old.
I love the old ones.
Yeah, let's hear your thoughts on this one. I'm curious.
Yeah, so this was a Gen issue from 2014, and the reason it's come up now is I thought I'm going to start at the bottom of the issue queue and try to work my way north.
Love it.
So so this was near the bottom, and I personally agree with it. It's the module load include function has really weird syntax, and even though I write it many times, I still have to go, okay, now what comes first, and so forth. And there was a whole string of discussion, and it basically, the discussion sort of settled out that we replace it or deprecate it in favor of a function called backdrop file include that has intuitive verb order syntax. And so that's what the PR is in. I think one of the things that might have hung it up was automated tests fail because of the watchdog deprecation notice. But let's set that aside for a moment, because a couple people chimed in and said, we're all, we're used to module load include, don't make us go back and replace it by deprecating it. And then I think the most recent suggestion from Doc Wilmot was, okay, let's not deprecate it, but let's still put in the sensible function that people can use. And so where we are now, I guess, is there's still sort of this cloud of different opinions. And the reason I wanted to bring it to the dev meeting was to try to get it to a decision point so that we either say, no, we're not going to do anything, or let's put in the new function but not deprecate it, or go forward as originally proposed.
We could also put in the new function and deprecate it for like backdrop 3 or something like that. And see if people, after using the new function for a while, are like, oh, okay, I like it better. And then if not, we have like all of the backdrop 2 to decide to not deprecate it. But that way we're not setting a cutoff date as like 2025, which is pretty soon. We also could leave them both. I think if we leave them both, one of them should call the other, just so that we don't have that code duplicated.
Yeah,
but I have,
and that's done.
Okay. That's what
Yeah.
the old one still currently calls the new one. Is it marked deprecated in the current pull request?
Yeah, so in the current pull request, the old one calls the new one and does a deprecation function. Deprecation watchdog notice.
So I think that's probably fine, even if we just removed the deprecation notice on it and gave us another few years to figure out whether we actually want to deprecate it. I mean, it is a very weird order, but I must admit it is memorized in my head, the weird order, because I have been using it for so long. So I could see how some people be like, don't make me learn something new. I already did the hard work of remembering what order these things are in. But I do think that for new people coming to Backdrop, having something that is more intuitive instead would be valuable. So I think I like both, keeping the idea of having both. Nate, do you have thoughts about not deprecating it, and then where would it live? Like, because if it's deprecated, we probably move it to the Drupal Inc. file, assuming that people coming from Drupal are using it, but we just leave it where it is. I don't know.
If
Yeah.
we don't, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm ambivalent about this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I just thought one thing though, if we don't deprecate it, should we at least put sort of a usage note in the doc block saying this may be deprecated in a future version?
Yeah. I think that's smart. That way it leaves us the opportunity to do it and everybody's been sort of warned, but we're also saying we're not deprecating it right now. So hopefully nobody will be too upset. And then if we do never deprecate it, that's also fine, because it's still may be deprecated in the future version. We just haven't.
Yeah, that's a good compromise. I was even thinking about something where it's like maybe we would use the @deprecated PHP block or PHP doc, but we wouldn't use the watchdog warning, just as a kind of halfway measure where it wouldn't throw logs, but it would show up in an IDE as being a deprecated function. And in PHP Storm, if you reference a deprecated function, it puts a line through the function, just kind of like a strike through to like let you know that you're using something that's deprecated.
Is that going to upset the people who don't want to stop using it though? If their editors start yelling at them, even if Backdrop isn't yelling at them,
I
it
mean,
might.
a little bit. I mean, if they do it in their own modules, they can suppress it. IDEs, you can right click and say ignore this warning, and it puts a code comment above it that that ignores the deprecation. But I don't know. I kind of doubt that would upset people. I think it's much more likely to upset people who aren't
Don't know about
maintaining
it.
who aren't maintaining modules, who are just running modules. They turn on the deprecated notices, and then modules all over their site are yelling at them.
Yeah.
I think that's what really gets people.
Okay, I would say let's not use the PHP deprecated, just so that we avoid editors yelling at people about functions that may or may not be deprecated in the future.
You mean not use watchdog deprecated function, but
I mean not use the PHP doc block, so that editors won't say anything, like the editors won't throw a warning. If that's, or
the text editors.
yes,
It's
sorry,
like
not
an
the
IDE.
people,
Yeah.
people editors, yeah, text
Okay.
editors.
Okay. Yeah, and then maybe just leave a note saying this is, this other one is preferred, but this one's not deprecated, something like that. Yeah.
Or like maybe deprecated in the future, but not currently deprecated or something like that. We recommend the use of this other one, but
Yeah.
yep, that's great. Yay. I'm excited to see movement on that. Thank you, Robert.
What when did the name spacing change on this? I'm sure there was a discussion on it, but in the initial summary, it's like module load include, and then we would replace it with backdrop load include. But the new function is actually called backdrop include file. Yeah.
There's a kind of a string of comments above and where that got hashed out.
Mhm.
I mean, backdrop include file is definitely more English. Like it makes sense as a concept. The load include, I was thinking would be useful because it just matches what was there before. But if we're not trying to, like, if our target audience is the people who liked what we had before, then we shouldn't change it. I think the whole point of this function is that we want it to be more intuitive, and so I think backdrop include file is more intuitive. I also would be fine with backdrop file include, so I don't know, I have no particular desire for backdrop load include.
Okay, well,
Do you have a preference on that, Nate, that you're worried about, or?
just my expectation matched the summary that I was like, oh, we're gonna make something that makes sense. And I was thinking that we would just rename it from module load include to backdrop load include, and it would work.
I can
like,
update this summary, if that's helpful.
to change it to backdrop. I can't even
Include
remember
file.
it. Include file, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just copy the example from the pull request in here. And then that way, people who go to read it will see the two options that were discussed and not just the one that was decided against.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm in favor of leaving the parameters the same, but I'm just gonna throw it out there because it's in my head that really the ability for us to have a module and a theme or a layout, like we really in practice have those things as exclusive names, like on backdropcms.org, there's project / whatever, and it can be a theme, a module, or a layout. And there's no overlapping isn't allowed. You can't have a module and a theme with the same name. That's also technically true that a module and a theme having the same name will collide in all kinds of name spacing. Like if a theme function and a hook have the same name, like just catastrophe ensues. And the most recent example of this was the themes getting config directories that all of the config functions that are like install default config, and you just say the project name, there's now logic in there that says check if it's a theme, check if it's a module, and then uninstalls or installs the config based on the project name alone without asking whether it's a module or a theme. And so this is my thought process here, is that really the project type, like, is it a theme or is it a module?
Don't really need it.
We could exclude it here, yeah, and say so backdrop load include, or see, I can't even say it right. Backdrop
Include file.
Include file. Okay.
Just say it like an English sentence, include this file.
It is backdrop include file. Yeah. Like we could just say backdrop include file, and then it would be project name, like basis, and then template.php if you wanted to, rather than saying backdrop load include theme basis template.php.
Yeah, I wonder why that was ever included in module load include, because it's never been possible to have the same project type with the same.
Yeah, well, module load include in theory, well, not in theory, in practice can't include theme or layout files, like just period.
Oh,
just doesn't
that
work.
explains why it's module.
Yep. So it assumes that you're only loading module files, and if you're in a theme or a layout or something like that, it's just kind of like tough luck. You kind of you got to do it somehow else.
Huh. I wonder how I never ran into that. I probably did, and I've forgotten, but in my brain, it's worked for everything.
Yeah, I think there's actually theme load include separate from module load include or something.
Okay,
like that.
now I gotta consult the API. Is there another part of backdrop I've never seen before? What's going on?
So since backdrop include takes the project type as an argument, as well as the project name and file, it can be used for all of those situations. So so it's an improvement in that regard too, more versatile.
Yep. But I don't know, like eliminating the project type parameter, like I think it's fine to leave it in there, honestly. Like I think
it's intuitive that way.
Yeah,
and
I think it's almost expected.
It would leave us the possibility of being able to have both a module and a theme with the same name if we ever did figure out that that was important and added it in the future. So
Yeah,
we wouldn't need to rearrange the parameters again.
yeah.
I don't know
In
the
practice,
likelihood
I
of
don't
that
think
space.
that'll ever happen. I think
Yeah,
we'd
yeah.
more likely go the other route where we would formalize the exclusivity of project names and like don't allow them to be named the same. I think would be a better move on our part.
Can we
But
do that now? Just because I'll create an issue. We can talk about it.
you could do something like prevent them
Something
from being
being
turned on.
enabled. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's it is just dangerous just
Mhm.
having those
And
things.
it's a
be the
really
same name.
common beginner mistake too, to create a module called custom and a theme called custom and then.
Yeah,
sites-
or the name of your site. Yeah, totally. Like the name of your client or
Yeah,
yeah, happens all the time.
yep.
Okay, anyway, yeah, so upshot on that, Robert, group opinion is that we don't deprecate the function. We do put some documentation in there saying this other approach is preferred and link over to backdrop load file,
Include file.
include file.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Got it.
knowledge that's kind of glued in my brain. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're a
Thanks.
little bit short on time. Let's go to the next one there. Remove leftover help text on maximum image size fields, issue 2062.
Yeah, and so this is just a wording thing, but we've got two dueling PRs. So in one, there's on the image size, the label is maximum dimensions, and then we've got two fields to put in the width and the height. And the original goal of the issue is to spell out that the width comes first in the description. And so one of the options just does that. That's the first PR. And then in the second doesn't spell it out in the description, but actually puts placeholders of in the two fields of width and height. And that looks, sort of elegant, but if you encounter one that's already filled in, then you don't see the placeholders. But where it stands, I guess, well, now 4 of us prefer to explicitly say it's width times height. But BW Panda and Tim voted for placeholders.
I think placeholders isn't accessible. Like, I don't think that works if you're not reading it visually. I think it like the description is better in those cases. Maybe I'll go add my vote and say that.
Yeah,
too.
you can fix that though with visually hidden labels. Like the labels would still be there, they just wouldn't they wouldn't be shown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if the point is to help people also, even if there's default values in there, then maybe they should be visible labels. The one says width, the one says height, and then we don't need to worry about the additional description. I'm sure this is all been covered in the issue already. It's just the thoughts going through my head. I'm also fine with the description as it is. We don't want to derail everything.
Yeah.
Maybe on this one, and since we don't have a ton of time, Tim and Jen could both just go into the issue and take another look and throw a few more comments in, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Give me
The
the
most-
issue number again.
It's 2062.
Yeah. The most
And-
obvious thing here is that like we already have the description that tells you like use width times height, but we don't have the placeholders. And the most obvious thing that we could do is just add the placeholders because
Wait.
yeah, because we would be taking nothing away. We would only be adding the placeholders that would help a lot for filling out the form. And
Well, we
then you'd
don't-
have redundant
We
help
don't
text.
already have the description, though. That's one of the pull requests is to add it.
But so what, you're
But we
suggesting.
could do
we
both.
Both.
Yeah,
Oh, we don't have the
No.
current text is okay.
no, if you look at the first pull request, it adds the description text, and the second one adds the placeholders, so.
Oh, I mean, do we have it? Is there somewhere in here a picture of no,
We
we
don't
do have it in the description right now. The maximum allowed image dimensions is expressed as width all uppercase times height all uppercase. Then that's what's being removed right now is it's in the description, but it's not in the label or as a placeholder. So it is in the description right now, but that's the only place it
It's
is.
not,
Yeah. I see that.
okay,
That's the original.
It's nice that Graham 72, the very first comment here, is like, I still need the reminder that it's width times height.
But yeah, it does seem like doing both in this case. In fact, well, let me just also throw out, we don't need a whole sentence for these dimensions are width times height. You can just say image larger than these dimensions, parentheses, width times height, will be scaled down. So that's brief, but still clear.
Yeah, just make it a better sentence, because right now it's a little cumbersome. Yeah, and then add the placeholders. So then it's purely additive. And maybe just cleaning up the phrasing a little bit.
Yeah. I'll do that. I'll just make a new PR.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically take the second pull request, which is BW Pandas. He added the placeholders. We leave that all in there, but we don't remove it entirely from the description. We instead reword the description to be a little bit shorter. Yeah, and then it's still in both places. Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds great.
love it.
Great. Thanks.
Yay.
Good work.
And that's why we talk through things.
Mhm.
I want this, I want this. You both can have what you want. Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just so much easier to compromise verbally than going back and forth. All right, well, we're out of time for today. Once again, great job on the release, everyone. 126 is another successful release, released on time. Has a nice little set of fixes in it, gets us set up well for CK Editor. All in all, like a great release. Backdrop Live starts tomorrow, and I'll see many of you there at that time. So, okay, and if not, we'll see you next week and on the internet. So,
Nate, you're gonna do a little intro? You prepared for that or not?
for Backdrop Live,
Yeah.
Let's,
Just do something short.
just very short, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Don't stress. Don't stress about it, but we'll plan on you saying something and you keep it as short or as long as you want.
okay, that sounds